And there's some other KMS stuff that I've been meaning to go over, but that I haven't done yet. It's still from it's from 10 days ago, and this is from 8 days ago. So let's make sure that we get up to speed with all of that. Yeah, so there is this KMS news that I've been meaning to get to. Error when resetting potential with cubes and apology compensation. Not sure. But this is from 10 days ago already, so you guys might have heard about it already. Talk about an error that occurred due to some of the changes they made in the last patch for resetting potential. As compensation, we'll be receiving a miracle time event. Oh yeah, DMT is very, very rare in KMS, so this is huge. Only started again a few years ago, and they only happen once per year. Yeah. So, yeah, when they talk about resetting potential, I think they're talking about inner ability or potential on cubes. As we'll see, potential lines, so they're talking about cubing. That appeared when resetting potential with cubes were different than the rates shown on the homepage in certain situations. Uh-oh. We can't be having that. After changing it so that the maximum of one potential line from the decent skill group could appear. Oh, that switch, yeah. An error occurred where certain other potential lines also could only have appeared a maximum of one time. Oh, so different potential lines were apparently coded as the same thing, and when they changed the group. For the people who didn't follow that, so it's like you can't have decent sharp eyes and decent speed and fusion on the same glove, for example, or decent haste and decent combat orders on the same shoe anymore. Like, if there is a decent skill on there, then the other lines can't be another decent skill. Also, no double decent sharp eyes and no double decent speed and fusion, basically. Which in most situations will mean that you have on average, a little bit better chance of getting the potential that you want, right? Because if you have two double sharp eyes, that's really useless. There is like some situations where if on a glove you get like 8% critical damage, decent sharp eyes, and decent speed and fusion, that can actually be really good for a while, but like endgame you never need that anyway. So this caused a problem where there was a limit for certain potential lines, so they could only appear once out of 3 lines when resetting potential with cubes. Yeah, that's what you just said. The potential lines that could only appear once out of the 3 lines due to this error were strength, dex, intellect, luck, max HP, max MP, plus N, which were not highly sought after. This was a situation where, other than rare rank, more preferred potential lines could be acquired at a slightly higher rate. Oh, so it was actually a buff for the players, which was unintended. This error occurred after the maintenance, and for a period of time, other than rare rank, more preferred potential lines could be acquired at a slightly higher rate. So for minimum equity, instead of immediately changing the duplicate line limit, we will correct this error during the August 19th server check. What, so they announced it early? So people could start cubing and make gains? Investigators concluded that there were no other type of cube rates error other than this. We apologize for... They don't have that internal system yet, right? Where you'll be able to see what all the outcomes are and stuff, and you can compare. Because they were going to do that for drop rates and stuff, I think. But we haven't seen that yet. That probably takes a while to implement, though, where people can double check the rates of everything and see if they are close to the projected rates. Cube error apology compensation. Since the error ultimately helped those who reset potential with cubes instead of individually rewarding players who did or did not reset potential with cubes, we are planning to hold a miracle time where all players who were confused about the rates because of this error can participate. Because there was a problem with cubes? A buff when you're using cubes. Wow, look at that. Wait. Starting at 8 AM until 11:30 PM? Why do we never get something like that? Why is it like... Okay, you have 45 minutes from 2 AM to 2:35 AM. Then there's 6 minutes of DMT between 5:45 and 5:51 PM. And then there's an hour between 10:30 and 11:30 PM. And then there's another 28 minutes at 1:30 AM to 1:58 AM. It's like, bro, what are these? And they just get a whole day. Beautiful. Yeah, it's already been, of course, but because this was a while ago. Double chance to increase potential cubes. More detail, yeah. In-depth confirmed problem detail. So for rare, it was really only for rare and epic too. If one of the potential lines in the box below appeared, the remaining 2 lines would not include any of the potential lines. It was really just by flat stats and flat HP MP. 4 ranks of additional potential. If one of the potential lines in the box below appeared, the remaining 2 lines would not include. So the same. I guess, well, and this was legendary, unique, epic, and rare on bonus potential. But yeah, so if anything, people were positively affected by it. But, you know, because it was still a fuck up and because they still had to, you know, make sure that all of the redemption is, or that they're following all of the distribution of the lines, right? Of what they broadcasted. Yeah, they have to fix it. And they're giving it, well, they gave a DMT that they already had, so that's good stuff. Because unlike ours, theirs can actually handle the stress. But the reason that ours can handle the stress is because it's in those 2-hour blocks and everyone is doing it at exactly the same time. If you had it over, you know, a period of 13.5 hours, or sorry, 15.5 hours, God, maths, then it wouldn't be so insane because everyone would be doing it during the day whenever they want, and it wouldn't be so clumped together, and the stress on the servers wouldn't be so high. So, you know, it's so silly. Or just like, oh, we can't do a cube sale because cube sale is gonna like. Well, why don't you just do the cube sale a week before? The cubes last a month, and then people can use them during the DMT, and they will already have them. Like, it's not ideal, but at least some people will be able to buy a bunch of cubes and go hard, you know. Wait, is my camera way higher than usual? It is. Why am I so high up? I'm supposed to, like, emerge from the Scardor sound. Okay. But yeah, so that's one thing, and that's already passed, but that's just a little update. I'm going to hope that this error is not going to slip into GMS and that they'll just immediately deploy the fix because we are so many months behind, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then another thing is from 8 days ago, and this is for discussion topic selection and background information for the second round of topics. And of course, this time there's no user advisory group anymore because that was disbanded. So it's just the discussion on the forum and then the feedback afterwards, right? The feedback from the team that we'll probably go over in a little while. The next 2 discussion topics have been selected, and the development team included some of the background information of why they were selected and the feedback they were looking for. So if you remember, what were the 3 topics before? Who remembers class? Who remembers? It was the boss reward revamp. It was the new player introduction into the game, I think. And it was the third one just and more topics for the board, or the board and the board itself, right? I think that was the third topic. Annex, Hennehoing, and crashes. Well, that would be for GMS, yes. 2 topics: necessity of party play in hunting and improvement direction. Maple Guide reorganization to help. Oh no, oh this is where it is. Okay, Maple Guide reorganization. Wait, what was the shit? Who remembers? Where are my huge brain memers? Who has a memory for this? Chat. Boss reward reorganization. Greater character growth. Experience reorganization. Oh, okay. Well, that's what I meant, okay? Trust. And then the board. Okay. No, I was right. You guys didn't know. I knew. Pepelaf on you guys. I knew. Okay. But now they're specifically going into this, so it's more of a... Yeah, just more specifically, how can we increase or improve the character growth for new players? Through the Maple Guide, which is, again, remember when I was saying, like, oh my god, they're stealing all my ideas, right? Like, that's one of my major things that I think is a really good thing to do. So excited that they're taking that into consideration. And party play, that's also something. Doing things together with people, making this MSORPG an actual MMORPG again. That would be interesting if they can actually do that. It would be quite something. Necessity for party play and hunting and improvement direction. Why was this a topic? Well, hunting is one of MapleStory's important content where players spend most of their time during the game. Yes. As mentioned in the previous developer comments, it has been established for a long time that solo hunting is the most efficient hunting method in MapleStory at this point, for sure. Solo play like this can make hunting repeatedly into situations that make you bored. Is MapleStory a long-time work to improve and provide better experiences and content where players spend the most time? That's okay. People can watch streams at the same time or watch YouTube videos at the same time, so I'm not too bothered, okay? Based on the opinions given by players through the discussion board and the players of the previous user advisory group, the development team is considering an improvement direction of the joy of being together. Nice. Meaning ways to improve the hunting experience that preserve the fun of partying and hunting. Oh, okay. Together, just like the fun of Lion King Castle parties in the past. Yo, a lot of people in the chat know about those days, and a lot of people on YouTube watching the video as well. You guys probably know about those days, right? Lion King Castle, or LKC, or Lion. What do you guys call it again? Lionheart Castle, right? LHC, some people called it, because that was the KMS name. It's interesting that they call it Lion King Castle here. So Max has actually translated it for the GMS line, even though most people called it Lionheart Castle. Even though it was Lion King Castle in GMS. We request players many opinions for hunting and party play, like the necessity of party play in hunting, ways to activate party play, ways to distribute experience rewards, and the responses to bad mannered behavior. Yeah, so in general, you know, if they can do this, that would be really cool. Like with all this kind of stuff, my what I'm thinking about immediately is, okay, if you bring something like this that is objectively quite a bit better than everything else, people who just like to solo play are now gonna like be harder punished for doing that. And if you don't make it significantly better, if it's just like the same or a little bit worse, then nobody's gonna do it. Only like the few people who want to like play with other characters. So I want their efforts going into this to be worth it. And I don't know if there's, you know, just from a standpoint of like what it looks like, I don't know if it can be much different than, hey, it's like really good, but only for a limited time a day, so that people can like choose like, okay, am I going to do this? And then it's objectively better, but there's a limit, something like that. What I think is that eventually, at least for GMS, eventually, if they keep coming with new areas and new areas and new areas, people are going to stop getting a Kana Mule on a second account, like all the way up to 275, 280, 285, you know, if that keeps going, that's just not going to be beneficial after a while, because those characters are going to have to train for so long to get to those new areas. And what I see as an option is just giant maps where people train the whole time, people just sweaty grind, and they just, everyone has their own mobs, but you can put a totem in the map, and the totem does apply for everyone on the map. So that way you can upscale, right? You can scale up tremendously the amount of hours that you can grind. If there's just 4 people in the map, and you alternate between 4 people who uses a totem, you only have to use 1 totem every 8 hours instead of 1 totem every 2 hours. Something like that, I think, could be very interesting. But I don't know to which extent they'll do this. Apparently, the mini dungeons, or the what are they called? I think the instance maps from before apparently were very taxing for the servers, from what I heard. So I don't know if they'll bring that idea back for like more maps. But more maps, again, I guess that would also go pretty perpendicular to trying to get people to do stuff together. But yeah, something like shared maps, shared spawn, not seeing each other's lines, not seeing each other's mobs, so there's no extra lag, something like that. I don't know. That's like the direction I'm thinking in personally. But let me know what do you guys think when you hear about that. Do you guys have any ideas on what that could look like to bring party play back into Maple? And then the second topic, Maple Guide reorganization to help new returning players settle in. So the way that I envision that, just to like really slowly, really shortly recap that, is basically that the guide, instead of being like an informational tool that it is now, that every single step here that you do has a bunch of quests here, and if you complete them and you get those stamps, would get you like a bunch of rewards that you can click. Just little things, but like constantly keep going. And now every single thing does have its own rewards, but like just a little bit extra to make. And what I would like to see in that, I don't know if they'll do this, they probably won't, but I would like to see in this is a little bit more of an aggressive, or assertive, I guess, input of, hey, this is like a system in the game that you should start thinking about. Like, this is Transfer Hammer, you know? Because right now, like, it's in a light bulb at a certain level, right? It's like, It's like, oh, alchemy, craftsman. Oh, have you learned about potentials, right? Like, I've never clicked that. But on your first character, I think it's important that people click that and that people really read through it. And maybe there's like a tiny quiz with just a few questions at the end, and if you get it right, you get a bunch of like stuff for it. Because then either people just know the answers and then the answers are in their head, or they actually read it and, you know, are able to answer the questions correctly as a result, and now they kind of understand how the system works. And not just something that's like hold down NPC chat, get rewards, but something that actually requires you to kind of understand what it is. Because I think right now what the problem is one of the things that happens a lot with people who get stuck is because people just train, then they get to like level 170, 180, and then the monsters get a lot stronger. It gets a lot slower, but they muscle through, get a hyper skill, muscle through, get to 200, then their fifth job, and then you get to like 202 or 203 pretty quickly, and then you're like, okay, how do I get stronger? Oh my god, there's like 16 systems that I should have been working on already. There's a whole list of dailies that I should have been doing and should have been unlocking. And then it feels like all of that stuff is like piling on you. So I think, if anything, you know, I don't think slower is better, I don't think faster is better. But if anything, I feel like just the light bulbs is too open and too free, and it might be a good idea to like more gradually introduce those topics at certain levels a little bit more assertively, so that players are forced to conform with them, but at the same time also only for the first time playthrough, right? Don't bother people with this stuff on the second and third and fourth character. Don't have like, oh, you just made your 52nd character. The monster you just killed is an elite monster. Yes, administrator, I get it. I've done that 51 times. Thank you for the 52nd pop-up, right? That's another thing. And with that, I think comes also lore in the game. You know, let us skip through that. Storylines, let us skip through that if we've already done that. But the first time, require it to be maybe a little bit more engaging. And it also means if you're doing quests, if you're doing events, all of that stuff, make the text pop up, make it be to the point, and make it engaging. And don't like fluff me around with 600 text, because I'm just going to hold down NPC chat and everyone's going to be team red, because nobody's reading any of that shit. But if you make it more concise, more to the point, then more people will be able to read it, more people will understand what's going on, and be a quest like, hey, this is a quest. Do you want to do this? Yes. Good luck. Gone. And I'm gone. It's like, hey, you did the quest. Thank you. Here's your reward. Thank you. Gone. Not 14 messages on startup, not 12 messages on the wind down at the end. Just get to the point. If you get to the point, I'll read it. If you don't get to the point, I won't read anything, right? Less is more. So let's see what they have to say here, right after I take a sip, because I'm talking too much. Oh, also, if you're going to do something that has animation and that has voice acting, give us an indication that that's happening and let us turn on voice acting before the whole thing starts, and not have us find out afterwards that apparently we missed like the best voice acting in the game because we didn't happen to have our sound turned on. Because a lot of people have their sound turned off, but if they would know that there would be some cool sounds and some cool voices, they would turn it on for that. But you don't know until it's too late and you're already gone. Have you guys been DCing lately? Welcome to MapleStory Phantom. Yes, since the last patch, the game is an absolute madhouse. Everything is unstable, and yes, everyone, literally, yeah. Okay, so MapleStory's game is a game with a long service period, and so a lot of content has been accumulated over a long time. Spaghetti code, and this vast and diverse amount of content can feel like a hurdle to new returning players. I think the amount of content is not a hurdle, but knowing what is even worth your time and what totally isn't, I think that's where most people are kind of like, that's what they most want to know. Is like, do I even have to do this? You know, is there anything useful here, or is there nothing useful at all? For most people, I advise in the beginning to just go by the light bulb tab. Just start with the, oh, that's Legos. Start with the light bulb tab here. This already looks at all of your quests and takes only the most important ones. For the first playthrough, I would follow this and do pretty much all of this, just to get a feel for the game and just to kind of slowly ease into the game and really get introduced to all of the topics. That's like the unsweatiest thing you can do, of course, the most casual thing. But then once you do that the first time, you will realize which ones are fun, which ones are not fun, which ones are important, and which ones are not important. And that allows you to put everything on the matrix of fun and importance, and it allows you to put to set your priorities for the future, for everything that's about to come after that. So they get bait into the NLC questline. Yeah, is that a thing? It is content designed to help increase players' understanding of the game and help them adapt to the game more easily and conveniently based on the growth path of the variety of content in MapleStory. Since its initial introduction, we have reorganized it several times and made steady efforts, with, like you guys said, with Tots know-how and that kind of stuff, and made steady efforts to make it more convenient to use. We'd like to reorganize it again in the overall areas of the game's content, systems, and growth paths. In particular, we are considering reorganizing the Maple Guide in a way that helps Maple... that's the wrong line. Players who are starting MapleStory for the first time, or players who have returned to MapleStory after a long time, adapt to MapleStory more easily and conveniently. That is true, though. Yeah, it shouldn't only be for first time, but also if you haven't played in a long time. Because if you come back after like 3 or 4 years of not playing, it's like starting for the first time. The game completely changes like every 3 to 4 years. Definitely. I quit for 3 to 4 years, and I basically had to start back from scratch. Like I knew how equipment worked and where my equipment window was, but other than that, a lot of stuff was completely new. Next, we'd like to thank you for the various opinions you left on the Please Leave a Topic you would like to discussion board and share the development team's thoughts. Mentioned in the previous development team, development team has tried to select and prioritize topics based on the overall development direction from the topics that the development team is currently thinking of improving and the opinions that the players gave through the Please Leave a Topic. However, we ask for your understanding that relatively small-scale improvements or error fixes are difficult topics for discussion, and job balancing patches are not selected as topics, as it would be extremely difficult to come up with solutions through discussions. Yeah. Because people are just like, oh, this needs to be better. Oh, this needs to be fixed. This skill is bad. Like, oof. There's so many ways you can go with that, and almost 50 classes to do that for. That would be a lot. The topics requested through the discussion board from June 30th to July 26th were mainly for job balancing patches, relatively small-scale improvements, and suggestions, which made it difficult to choose discussion topics. For your reference, we share the top 10 topics, and going forward, release the notes, share information on topics. Okay. We need a discussion board for job balancing. We need a place where the operation team regularly communicates their play experience and data with players. We demand improvements for the operation team's stance on balance patches. Nice. Please make a key settings preset feature. Honestly, key settings preset for everything. At this point, we want presets for all things. The presets for hyperstats that they recently released in KMS, that's some good shit. I want that. But, we're in GMS. You know what we have? We've got the best presets in the game, boys. We've got the familiar badge presets. Standard of 2, expandable to 5. So, please remove monster life monsters in maps. I don't know if we have that. I would like to know Nexon's thoughts about job balancing. Please remake old jobs like Cygnus. Dude, they want to remake old jobs like Cygnus, and they're going to work on remaking or rebalancing whatever, overhauling the Explorers. Meanwhile, what about the Resistance, Xenon, and Demon classes? I feel like these classes have been forgotten for so long, and they could use so much help. But then, please improve Angelic Buster's mannequins. Okay. 1 hour wealth acquisition potions. Yeah, so they are adding some. Was it half hour or 1 hour? The potions as drops from the hard bosses. If you guys saw my last video, you probably saw. What about Kaiser? Just take away the dragon link and give me like 20 strength. I don't get rid of that doggy doo-doo mechanic. Please expand the range of name transfers again. Please open a reboot burning server. Yeah, it's really weird that this is not a thing. Like, why not be able to move them to reboot at all? Is it just because you can scroll equips in there, so it would get crazy? But you'd have to be like a reboot burning. Yeah, that would have to be a separate world, yeah. Excuse me. Just fix your Demon Slayer mobbing skill. Give defender mode a final form. A drain ability. Is it being fixed? Not right now, but they did say that they are planning a major patch soon, yeah. Either later today or tomorrow. Early tomorrow. Yeah, definitely specifically reboot burning, yeah. All of the... Because I remember playing lab server, which it was kind of like, you know... It was still a version of the non-reboot server, because there was all of the mechanics from non-reboot were in there, and it was really weird. Buccaneer pre 200? Yeah, there's definitely some, I'll be first to say though, like a lot of the explorers have a rough time getting to 200, because like Cannoneer's very slow, Buccaneer pretty slow, pretty weak, Heroes definitely not the best, Paladin not great, Corsair does okay, the Archers like Marksman up to 200. Fire Poison up to 200. Who else do we have? Did I miss like a whole branch? Archmages. Whereas the other... Yeah, the rest of the bishops is okay. Bowmaster's pretty meh. Yeah, they're all kind of... the thieves, yeah, like Dual Blade. Dual Blade to 200. Night Lord is like okay, but starts kind of rough. So like, yeah, more than half of the explorers are like, not great to get to 200. Shadower till 200 horrible. I thought Shadower was pretty good to get to 200, but you need to be strong enough to be able to two-shot with B-step. If you can two-shot with B-step, you're okay, but if you can't, yeah, then it's pretty doo-doo as well. That's not to say that that can be fun, but to a lot of people, like, speed and fun is very, very similar. Now, if they keep it the same speed, but they change, you know, the amount of rewards you get and the way that you get guided through the whole journey to 200, that can already change your perception, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, everyone has to be twice as strong. Because the problem with giving them really good skills to get to 200, the problem with that is, well, you have boost nodes. Are you going to make everyone change their boost nodes because they're going to be different skills now? What if you change one skill to another one and they get different functions later and everyone has to redo their boost nodes, right? What if you give skills that are way too strong and if you boost them with the boost nodes, their endgame damage is going to go up like crazy, right? That's all things you have to take into account as well because of the Matrix. So remember, we're all in the Matrix. Shadow was bugged when you leveled them to 200. Now that Boomerang Step uses booster. Yeah, that's true, yeah. Well, yeah, but before it was okay. Now it should be even faster because of booster, right? On Pathfinder, after 200. It's almost like DA past 200. Yeah, and then Phantom is something to take into account as well, yeah. Because Phantom can steal a bunch of the skills. So if you buff certain skills way too much, then Phantom can get a huge buff. And you know they don't like that. Xenon or Phantom, anyone who takes skills that don't inherently were designed for them and belong to them, they are very, very eager to get some nerfs in there if those characters even see a little bit of extra play and a little bit of extra damage coming in. So that's a big, no, not a problem, but like it's a big issue. Something important to take into account when you're revamping all of that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Party play, hunting with people. How do you think they could implement that properly? And what are the dangers, the pitfalls that you see that you hope they take into account and don't make? And then for the Maple guide, what do you guys think is reasonable? One of the things we talked about, for example, is maybe some extra nodes for reaching certain level intervals on your first character. Pretty similar to like Terra Burn. But let's say that you start playing and there is no Terra Burn. I feel like if you reach level 200, 205, 210, 215, something like that in the beginning, you should probably still get a few nodes. Because remember, we still have the penalty to the drop rate for nodes in Vanishing Journey, which is still really weird because that was implemented years ago. Just because in KMS people ended up going back to Vanishing Journey to farm nodes there, which was really strange. I'm pretty sure nobody's even considering doing that anymore right now. and to have the first area where you get introduced to node stones have a nerf to the drop rate when you need them the most is still a really strange concept. So I do hope that they roll that back at some point and maybe even increase it versus the decrease. You know, get it to like 120% instead of the 90% or to 80% wherever it is at right now. I thought it was 10% lower, but could be mistaken. Yeah, it seems in KMS they're very much eager to look at job balancing. I feel like it's okay when it comes to job balancing to have like a separate portion of the message board to be like job balance, and then for every class to have like topic discussions of like, these are the active bugs, like here are little glitches and here are like active bugs that these characters have and that need to be fixed. And then overall, like, this is where the character is great and this is where the character is poor. That being said, I think it's great if a character is really good at something and also really bad at something else. I like that, because that means that the character has a certain role, has a certain function, has a certain character. I like that, especially when you have this many classes. I would hate to see us get to a point where everyone can just do everything at like roughly the same level, and then just the way that we do it is slightly different. I feel like that loses a lot of the inherent character of the game. So the fact that, you know, some character is actually really good everywhere, I think is a sign of like poorly balanced class. And if a character is really bad everywhere, that's also a sign of a poorly balanced class. So, you know, be good at 5 things, be bad at 4 things, be good at 7 things, be horrible at 3 things, you know, and balance it out like that. But again, in theory, that's easy to say, but in practice, that's hard to implement. So let me know what you guys think. And I look forward to your comments, and I'll see you on the next video when we have more updates coming out of KMS. Actually, let me double check if there's more. There's not more. Okay. You guys are up to date, up to speed. All right, we'll see you on